Welcome to Flyers Game Day. Late night hockey once again. When are we done with this? Can we be done with these late night games?
Yep.
It's Jason Martinez, Brian Smith.
For a while.
Chris Terry. Yeah, we are done for a little while. I guess until the Disney on Ice. Bundy, let me ask you right out of the gate here, because I'm not playing any games this week. We're just doing the pregame, the intermission, the postgame. You're doing the same here and on Crossing Broad, for Snow the goalie and the whole thing. I feel awful. Like, how the hell did you deal with this as a player?
You know what? It's actually worse doing what Smitty's doing. I was a broadcaster too, and I'm telling you, it's even worse in that position because you have to be, you're watching the game, you're waiting all day. So the players at least exert energy and they feel more wide awake after you get on the plane. You still got a lot of energy, but the broadcasters, the people that travel with the team that are not playing, I'll tell you what, it's exhausting, and it can be very, very tough.
Not that anybody cares, but I have middle of this week, I was like, I'd fall asleep for 3 hours from like 6 to 9 p.m. here, and then I'd be up for 3 hours, and then I'd sleep for another 4. It's bizarre. Yeah, I don't envy the people that have to make trips like this all the time for whatever reason.
No, and you're right, Smitty, because what happens is when you play like that, the players get amped up. But the broadcasters, you're dead like when you get on the media bus afterwards. But this is an important game, and back-to-back, I'll tell you, tomorrow the team will be tired. There's no doubt about it. But for tonight, it's just an opportunity for them to really try to get the 2 points. It'd be a lot more pleasant ride back to the East Coast, doing what they're doing, playing the kind of game they did last night, at least finding a way to get points. And those trips are always better on the way home. I can tell you that when they've had a successful trip out west.
Yeah, and they're going to fly back tonight, Bundy, after the game, through the night, obviously, and it'll be, an early morning landing here in Philadelphia. What were those plane rides like? The red eye back after a West Coast trip coming back across the country?
Yeah,
do you sleep the whole flight, or are you playing cards with the boys?
No, you know what? Usually it would just be you'd be awake a little bit and realizing you get a long flight and you're getting your time back. I tried to sleep. Most guys are not playing cards all the way through the flight, just because it is so late. It's back to back. I did like flying back no matter where we were. It didn't matter if we had to leave at whatever time it was. I liked coming back right after the game, rather than hanging around and flying the whole day the next day, because you do lose the entire day. Next day, all day.
And I don't know if you remember a comparison, Bundy, but 2 weeks ago when the Flyers came back from Vegas, they did that. They flew the next day, and then the next day at the rink, everybody felt like garbage. So I guess that's maybe just trying it a different way here to take this approach and see how it feels.
Yeah, I mean, and, every coach is different, and you also have to look at the schedule ahead. I believe this trip, the team has a trip to Vegas at some point. For team bonding, but I don't know. Smitty, I'm in the team, the belief that you come home after the game just because it just makes more sense, and you get a little bit more rest. You get back seated at home for a few days, and you feel better about yourself. But you know what I like though, guys? This is kind of like a little mini tournament when you go out west. The Flyers have a lot at stake tonight. You get back to 500 in the standings. Yeah, and you get two. You get 2 wins out of 3 in California, and you think the one game you didn't get was the San Jose Sharks. So, a good opportunity in front of the Flyers here tonight.
Guys, we do have a little bit of breaking news. I'll get out before we go any further. I guess at some point today, this afternoon, Carter Hart once again fell ill. So we're told about 2 minutes ago that Cal Peterson gets the start tonight. Sam Harrison will back up, and Carter will sleep somewhere, maybe. I don't know. We haven't seen much of him. We did see him. I saw him earlier this afternoon. Looked okay. But you know how those things are. Sometimes they flare back up on you. So.
Well, they'll have to. Yeah, if he flies back with the team tonight, they're going to put him at the back and quarantine him. That's what they do.
Broadcasters.
But he'll be driving. Yeah,
sit him right next to Timmy.
Rick, riding with the broadcasters. That's the old thing they did for years, right? And the players are sick. You guys got to ride with the media because those guys can't get sick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Oh man. So Cal Peterson's going to face his former team once again. After they touched him up pretty good last week, Monday on Saturday.
Yeah.
These 3 games, last night Anaheim, tonight LA, and Wednesday against Carolina. I called it the revenge tour because you lost all 3 of those teams. You lost Anaheim 7-4 in Philly. They beat them last night. 5-0 to the Kings last week. They lost 3-2 a couple weeks ago to the Carolina Hurricanes. But Cal Peterson, I mean, this changes nothing for the players, though. They can't do anything about the goalie not being Carter all of a sudden.
No, and I mean that there's nothing you can do about that with in-season injuries, and there's a lot of teams dealing with struggling goaltenders around the league right now. So, you have to find a way. It's an opportunity for Cal to come back, and if you want to call it exact revenge on his former team, he certainly can. It would be a good spot for him to do in LA tonight. A team that's quite frankly has struggled to win at home. Amazing record, 7-0 on the road, and 1-3-2 in Sin City, or excuse me, in the City of Angels. But, crazy, right? Like, it's unbelievable how a team can do that. And I've always said, I always thought that, playing on the at home and thinking you have that old home ice advantage that the Philadelphia Spectrum once afforded the home team, or the old Boston Garden. It's not like that anymore. And we've seen many teams come in as road teams and have success. I mean, look what happened with the baseball, right? Game 6 and 7, the hatchback reminders. But I'm just saying, my point is, it happens in sports, and if you're not ready to play, you could stand to lose any game. But I like the Flyers' opportunity here tonight. Doesn't matter. I think to keep the momentum going from last night, and a little bit of offense. Some guys I think should be feeling a little bit of that momentum, namely Owen Tippett after the performance he had last night. Yeah, I mean, he was good, and feel-good moments like that can carry into games. You can never know when it's going to lift that guy beyond what he's played so far. And I think he's a guy that's, I don't want to say struggled, but he's struggled to kind of find that scoring niche. And last night made a beautiful play to score that one goal and was a contributing factor on others. But, this is a spot tonight where the Flyers can kind of leave it out there. And I love the revenge thing, Jace. I still believe in revenge. And, LA could be thinking, hey, it's the Flyers coming in here tonight. We took it to them last week, and they just beat Anaheim last night. And you can get caught in a mental trap sometimes. But again, for me, it's every game for the Flyers. They have to have a good start. They can't fall behind 2-0 to anybody and expect to have results. That's very hard. And the success they've shown this year is when they've had leads early in hockey games in the first period. They went on to have success.
6-0-1.
Yeah,
that's outstanding. Yep.
Yeah.
Bundy, let me ask you about some of the lineup changes here, specifically what Torts was talking about today with Igor Zamula comes out, Bobby Brink comes out, and the idea is obviously get some fresh legs in there, but also gives 2 young players an opportunity to watch a game from upstairs after having played several. And I know it wasn't exactly yesterday that you were a young player like this, but I was just wondering your experiences with that when you were moving up into the NHL level. Was it ever beneficial for you to maybe get a chance to watch from up here in what Torts calls Answer Alley and kind of get a bit of a reset feel for what you're doing when you get back out there?
You know what? My story is pretty simple. It's a very good story. My first 3 years, 2.5 into the league, I had basically a walk, played every night, never took me out, and they benched me. Terry Murray said my third year, we need more out of you. You got to be better. And I ended up going to the press box one night, and I didn't realize that the team through that went on a 4-game. Nobody scored. They had 4 shutouts in a row while I was out of the lineup. That had nothing to do with me. I always say it didn't. It's one of those crazy things, but that's what happens when you're out. So I think I was benched 9 out of 12 games. And to tell people, when you're in the doghouse and you work your way out of it, you do it by hard work and staying with it. 3 weeks after that benching, I came back in the lineup. I was in better shape. I had a better mindset, and I was playing with Desjardins, and that lasted for 10 years. And so, I mean, that's unbelievable. You talk about going from the doghouse to the penthouse, but there was more there. But I never sporadically sat out games. Smitty is what I'm telling you now. At that age, I was in the lineup, and that was a pivotal moment in my career, and probably for the team too, because I was able to play big minutes against guys over the years, and it was that benching that I always said inspired me to be better and made me better. That's good coaching. And that's when you sit someone out, you want results for that. So, again, I've said before, I sometimes question, guys being out of the lineup longer they have under John Tortorella, but I think it's a good thing to give maybe a guy that if you see something on defense, a young guy, there's nothing wrong at all with having a guy, if you have a rotation, for that player to sit out in a specific night. And I have no problem with that at all.
Bundy, when that happened to you, did you know that you had another gear that you just weren't getting to and that got you there? Or was it what took place that got you there?
I think I was doing just enough. And
Yep.
like when you're there and you're just doing enough to hang around, and I remember Terry just said, like, there's way more there. There's way more there. And it took someone, doing it. And I got pushed. I got pushed in ways I never did before as a person and a pro to that point. You're thinking, not, I'm in my contract year. I'm out of the lineup all these games. It's in December, January. And it was ended up being the best thing that ever happened in my career. It really was. And I thank Terry Murray for that. Still to this day, when I see him, thanks for that benching. Changed my whole career. But I was still young enough. It was my third year. And I always think if you have a guy that you want to really look at, give him a chance. And then if you think there's more there, find a way to get him there. And then, if the player doesn't, then you might have somebody that just not able to deal with adversity, or just doesn't have that next gear. And that's not his fault as a person. That's just maybe his makeup.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's a great story. Let's take the time out there. We'll take our first time out here on the pregame show as the Flyers get set to take on the Kings. And we'll come back. We'll talk about some of the changes. And a couple of guys going in tonight. Victor Mete goes into the game tonight for Igor Zamula. Mm-hmm. And also Bobby Brink comes out of the lineup for the Flyers. And we'll talk about that as well. Stay tuned. We're back after this on the BetRivers.com Flyers Broadcast Network. Mike, you got a better volume on me? You got good level on me now? All right, cool. These headphones are like squeezing my ears. Crazy. My ears are getting... Anything upstairs?
Be quiet about it. Hope for the best. It's safe for a rainy day.
Dog hanging out with me.
No, he played last night.
Yeah, man. They had 9 players, dude.
Downtown West. They played their balls off, man. They worked so hard.
He was banged up. Kenny Gottman was all over him all night. He's an animal. We're back live as the Flyers get set to take on the Los Angeles Kings. Saturday night, Flyers After Dark. Chris Tarian, Brian Smith, Jason Martinez, and a couple of lineup changes for tonight. And Bundy, Victor Mete's played a lot of games in the NHL. He was really banged up last year. And he's an interesting guy. He's not the biggest guy. He can skate. But he's a guy that I'm interested to see because he's played a lot of NHL games. And he's looking to kind of get his career going again after the injuries. And I think he only played 17 games last year. Yeah. But he comes in tonight for Igor Zamula. This is a good spot for him. It's Flyers are the land of opportunity, and he's going to get a little bit tonight.
Well, I think with LA, Jason, being a kind of a top-heavy type of team, like to get under the forecheck, bigger bodies, you'd maybe say that makes sense where you'd say we have Zamula in, but you know what? I don't. I mean, if you're going to want to try to get the puck out more efficiently, that probably was the hardest part of the game against the Kings at home last week, was the Flyers' inability to really get that puck clear out of the zone. And I think with having a little guy that can get around, I don't mean a little guy, but a guy with a little bit more stature and skating and puck handling is more suited maybe to this LA team, play this Kings team, and spring some players forward a little bit. So keep the momentum and the rally going, I think, offensively if they can from last night. But I think one of the focuses tonight will be how quickly the Flyers can adapt to the Kings forecheck And I think with bringing a player like Matei into the lineup, he does move the puck a little bit more efficiently, certainly, than Zamula does.
On the forward side of that, Bundy, too, one of the things that we talked about today when Torts was saying that Paling was coming back in, it's the Flyers kind of missed his skating, missed his reach a little bit. And, so that those are, obviously you lose certain skill sets with Bobby Brink coming out. You maybe gain certain skill sets with a guy like Paling that are maybe a little bit more conducive to a good solid road game.
You know what? I like that because it adds that kind of that beef back in that fourth line. It gives him that guy again that that has the good, has that good size, can get it in the forecheck, hem LA down in their zone a little bit too. So it brings that together. Also, what I think with Brink, he's had some good games. And I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong again with putting him up in the stands for a couple of games. You got to bring, sometimes when guys go up a little bit, bring him back down to earth a little bit because he hasn't been great every game. He's been sporadically good. And I think if you're rotating forwards and in the spirit of fairness, it's his turn to sit. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all.
Yeah, you got to wonder when it might be Tyson Forster's turn as well, Bundy.
Yeah.
You can see he is squeezing it big time.
Yeah, right, and the worse it goes sometimes, So, I think the best thing to tell him is, hey, if I were his coach, I'd tell him, don't even worry about scoring goals right now. Don't think about it. Go out and be a hockey player. Do the things that you do naturally, and let's see what happens from there. But he really is. He's really, really desperate for a goal, and it certainly shows sometimes.
All right, Bundy. Let's talk about Travis Sanheim. He's a player that I think resembles the way you played the game. Big stature guy, long. Even though big in size, you guys weren't like him. You weren't a heavy hitter, but you could skate. And you see what he's doing this year. Like you saw that goal last night. He makes a decision going down the left side, right? Okay, I can either just stay on the perimeter, go behind the net, look for a guy feeding into the slot or whatever. But he said, "No, I'm going to go hard to the net." And he took a hard move to the net, ends up getting the goal. Just how Kurt said he didn't see this guy at all last year. Yeah. I've never seen this Travis Sanheim. What is the biggest differences in the game of Travis Sanheim right now?
Well, he gets up the ice. He's getting up into the offensive frame more. He's a lot more confident with the puck. He's making better plays. What I'd like to see from him, and I agree, he's been really, really good, really solid. And again, I don't just look at what the player. I look at who he's playing against night after night. Dealing with other. I've been there dealing with top lines. He doesn't have a Desjardins working with him. And I think the comparison is pretty good between the two of us. I played in a little bit more violent era of the sport where there was a lot more hitting required, and to make it look like someone had to go through the boards once in a while. But I was a positionally sound defenseman. I was. If you're going to get around me, you're going to have to find a way around me or get through me. Sanheim is similar to that, but he skates well. He's really getting up the ice more, and he's doing it in a lot more smart way. When there's nothing happens, he'll circle if there's no play and get back on defense. But his best asset, as you said, is his skating, and I find he's using that more than he ever has before. He had a great night last night. As I was saying, the one thing I'd like to see more from him, though, Jason and Brian, more consistency from night after night. We don't want to see way up here and then way down there. I want to see kind of above the middle every single night, and you'd find that becomes a really good defenseman.
How much of it is just him being so decisive? To me, it looks like he's making up his mind a lot quicker, especially in the neutral zone and attacking in the offense.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. He's getting up the ice. His biggest enemy, I think, sometimes is his own head. When you make a mistake, let it go. Just let it go. Don't carry it on for 3 or 5 games. Just let that mistake go. And you're going to make a ton of them on defense. I don't care if you're Drew Doughty, Rob Blake, because I'm saying those names because you're in LA tonight, Smitty. They're great defensemen for that franchise. Or Eric Desjardins. I've seen Desjardins put cookies up the middle of the ice and guys get scored. We forget all of them. I probably doubled his, but it didn't matter. We made mistakes. And it's a matter of, of doing the best you can. And I think Sanheim's had done a very good job playing against the players he's played and also making a difference offensively.
Back in training camp, we were sitting in the press conference room, and Sanheim comes in the first or second day. And, it's the normal crap. It's like, oh, yeah, glad to be here. It's almost, you're almost not paying attention. And then somewhere in the middle of that, he says, yeah, I broke my foot last year at Worlds, and now I don't have to deal with that. And when he left the room, I said to Timmy and JJ, whoever else there, like, "Do we know that? Like, do we know that he broke his foot?" I don't think that we did. I'm sure the Flyers did. But all of a sudden, last year made a lot more sense to me for him. If he was dealing with an injury in the offseason and didn't let him train, I mean, he's used that as an excuse. But you have excuses and you have reality. And to me, I wonder how much that had to do with it.
Yeah, I mean, there could be a lot of things. You know what else, guys? Sometimes guys, like, and I always said, sometimes when you get pushed to a certain level, I call them the F-its, because I don't want to, you can't say the regular thing, but you might just get to a point where you just say, F it. I'm going to go out and play hockey. I'm going to be a hockey player. I'm going to go play because, you know what? They tried to trade me in the summer. They wanted to move me for a guy who was unable, was unhappy there. You might have just said, you know what, I'm going to come out and prove everything wrong. And that is a great attitude to have, too. That's a winning attitude. And I'd like to see that because, you get pushed on, and a lot of guys do. It's how you respond to that. And so far, he's done a great job, at the early start of this year.
Yeah, that's it. Guy playing with a chip on his shoulder.
Nothing wrong with
your contract and play with a chip on your shoulder. Never a bad thing.
Yeah. He's been dragged through it with the contract, the status, the tenure, the term, how much. It was crazy. It's a lot to take on, but you know what? All you can do is do what you can do, and he's done that. You know what? Go play hockey. And if I'm an older guy now, I look at him as a younger person. I'm proud of the way he's played. Yeah. He certainly rep number 6 well.
Yeah, there you go.
Good job.
It all comes back to the jersey number.
It always does, yeah.
Let's take our last break. And when we come back, I want to talk about number 86, Joel Farabee. We'll get the Bundy breakdown on Joel Farabee as the Flyers get set to take on the Kings. Tim Saunders and Todd Fedoruk, they're on site with the countdown to face-off and all the first period action coming up at the bottom of the hour. We're back after this, though, on the BetRivers.com Flyers Broadcast Network.
Autographs and everything.
All right, if I miss any of my segments tonight, it's because I'm busy. All right.
That dog's got the right idea.
Okay.
Looks how I feel.
Dog's asleep on the floor.
I'm having, I can't hear it, Jay, just because it's so loud in here, but check Twitter for the lines. They're a little different.
My volume okay like this? Because I didn't know which one I was turning up or down.
Jesus.
Okay, it's okay now because it was really loud in my own ear though. I couldn't see it on the back. We'll let it go for now. If it need to turn it up, just text me.
Oh well.
We're back live as the Flyers get set to take on the Los Angeles Kings. It's Jason Martinez, Chris Terry, and Brian Smith on site in L.A. And the Flyers tonight going to take on Los Angeles, look to exact a little revenge. We're going to get to the lines in a second, but let's get the Bundy breakdown here. Let's get the deets from Bundy. Is that what the kids say, the deets, Bundy?
Yeah.
The deets on number 86, Joel Farabee. We know last year he had that surgery late in the summer. I think it was June 24th. And it was a tough year for me. Look, he was chasing it all year long, physically chasing his game a little bit for that matter as well. But he's come in this year. In 14 games, he had 6 goals, 6 assists. And it's not only just the point production, Bundy, but it's the way he looks doing it. What have you seen out of 86?
Well, he's going to the front of the net, and that's where his game is. He's not a sniper. He's not a guy who's going to be sniping goals from the top of the circle, like not one of those Brett Hull type of guys. He's a front of the net, get your stick on it, get greasy goals, create havoc, create chaos in front of the net. And that's why he's had a successful year. If he plays around the perimeter, he becomes a normal player. He becomes one of many, many players in this league. He has to go in between the hash marks, or at least turn in towards it as you approach the net. That's where his goals will be, And again, if they're telling him that's anything other than that, then somebody's wrong. But he's the guy that has to go there with his stick on the ice, make decisive plays, quick plays, and hustle in the corners. And he's done that. He's won puck battles. He's been very, very good for this team so far. I made a mistake earlier, and if these lines are correct, Smitty, it looks like Paling's with those lines are all mixed up. Farabee's with Paling and Lawton.
I've tried really hard to get them to actually line up, and I couldn't. But that's what I was going to kind of get at was earlier that this is the first time that a winger has come out of the lineup in Brink. It's been centers the rest of the time, so somebody's got to move somewhere. And what it looks like is Lawton is the one to move out to wing, and it is interesting to me, though, that Paling centers that line instead of Cates, according to what we've seen here tonight. So,
yeah, it looks like you got kind of two third lines almost. The way it's set like that, you know what I mean? Like Jason, I know you're not seeing it, but the lines as they're set are Farabee, Paling, Lawton, and then Delorier, Cates, and Hathaway as your third and fourth line. Technically, how it's written, but there's kind of a little, if Cates can get going, you never know. He could maybe get going with those two guys a little bit, create some offense in a role. Yeah, where he's not really going to get checked at all. So interesting enough, just looking at these lines tonight.
Yeah, Cates probably feels like about 4 inches taller playing with those two guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
What do you think of this first line, Bundy? Couturier, Atkinson, and Forster.
They're really, hell bent on trying to get Forster that goal. It's that's what I said the other day. I wish I had a coach care about getting me a goal as much as someone cared about getting Tyson Forster one. But that's the fun in the game, right? And you know what? Yeah, I mean, you got a checking center with both a Flair. You get Forster, who's done a pretty good job defensively, all things said, and then Atkinson, who is a guy who can score goals. The second line is a really interesting one. That looks like it should be listed as the top line. But this gives Frost an opportunity too to play with two guys that are playing really well offensively. So let's see if they get Morgan Frost going. If that's maybe the case. Interesting lineup combinations tonight. But when I look at Forster there. You could have put Farabee there too. So, again, there's a lot of different things, but there's a reason why Torts did it, and we may not know why, but that's what he did.
It might be there by the end of the night. Get Farabee up there. You never know. They have some options. If this doesn't work, they certainly can stir the pot a little bit before the game's over.
Yeah, it is, and I kind of like just look. I mean, there's lots of things you love when you look at them on paper. But I actually kind of like this a little bit, and I'm going to be interested to see how it works out.
I'm so intrigued by the Frost Tippett connecting line. I mean,
me too.
That move that Tippett has last night, he passes it to himself. That's a forward defending, and he recognized it. Good on him. And he jumps around them and he finished it. It was just a beautiful goal.
Those guys are all Ontario League guys too, right? So they can find like a little bit of symmetry between themselves. That stuff happens. Believe me, you find that chemistry, and it's interesting. I like that. I really, really want to see how that goes.
Belpedio, he got a goal in the game last night, and look, I don't know what his NHL projection is at this point. I really don't. He said he took the scenic route to get there after he scored his first goal. But another pretty goal last night set up by Joel Farabee. He's going to play with Nick Seeler tonight. What have you seen out of Belpedio?
Again, moves the puck well, just does his job. A lot like Walker. I think Walker's done a really good job for this team. The guys on the outside we don't talk about enough. I mean, he's done a good job, Belpedio. Again, you need guys to step in and play like that. And those two guys have certainly done it. You have. But Belpedio, I like his puck movement. I like his seals, the way he plays in the D zone. He's not going to kill anybody. But he makes pretty good plays at reading the play and moves the puck fairly well. Gets in on the offense a little bit. I mean, you never know, right? Guy's got a chance to play, and he's still been in the lineup. And interesting to see if he can continue.
All right, Smitty.
Go for it.
Your focus tonight. We're going with the Smitty focus. What do you got?
I mean, again, it's for me. They just got to cut down on some of the chances they allowed this team last week. It's a very similar situation here. It's a back-to-back. This time they're on the road. I honestly think it might be a little bit of a better situation this time, just because of what they had to travel a long way last time. Last night it was 45 minutes up the road, so I see them just trying to button down defensively a little bit and see if they can't play the game.
Both blue lines will be crucial tonight for the Flyers. Play at both blue lines, offense and defense.
Great points. All right, let's wrap it up there. Let's get to the countdown to face-off. Tim Saunders, about to work, are standing by in LA, and follow that with first period action. You're listening to Flyers Game Day on the BetRivers.com Flyers Broadcast Network.